dear people of Ambazonia, my fellow brave warriors of our liberation movement. Accept liberation greetings from me, Comrade John Akuro, this Tuesday, the 5th day of November 2024. I trust and I extend regards to all our compatriots in the United States of America who should be going to the polls today to elect a new president for the country. Extending regards actually to our people of the southern Cameroons. And I know that you've been able to process in your own way to determine which of the Trump or the Kamala administration could forebode well for the people of Ambazonia in our liberation struggle. Folks, I'd like to apologize for my long silence. I've really been busy. I've been so up and about, very unstable. And I'm back here today. I know there's so much that has happened since the last time I had an exchange with you all on this platform. I know my last communication was regarding Mr. Paul Biya. That's not a subject matter for our discussion today. I would definitely have to come back to some of the nitty-gritties that were said during that time, during my last communication on that situation in La République du Cameroon. Today, I want us to have a quick conscious talk before I resume eventually with some of the very hot things that are happening on the ground. Sometimes some of our people have complained that appear not to be talking too much about what is going on in Ambazonia, that are focused so much on what is going on in La République du Cameroon. And I've always explained that that is because the things that happen in La République du Cameroon will invariably concern us, my people of Ambazonia. I've said it before and I will repeat today that La République du Cameroon is in a powder magazine as we speak. This is the more reason I would like to continue reiterating that we have to prepare for the transition, because in La République du Cameroon, they are actively preparing for a transition. So we have to get ready for that time. When I say La République du Cameroon is in a powder magazine, it's not a joke. You obviously saw recently a document circulating on social media emanating from the office of the Minister of Finance of La République du Cameroon, in which he was congratulating the customs officer in the Adamawa regional capital of Yaounde, congratulating them because he says they were able to intercept and seize a vehicle carrying thousands of ammunitions, thousands of ammunitions. And he says the vehicle was headed for Yaounde. Of course, we know that sometime around they will come when they wanted to pretend to give the impression that everything is going on right in their country. They will claim that the final destination of those bullets, of that ammunition, was not only bullets, a lot of other things, or weapons. Considerable quantity that was meant for the southern Cameroons. This time they couldn't. I have said here before that La République du Cameroon, where you see Yaounde, Douala, there are stockpiles of arms everywhere in those two cities. As all the people are looking at each other and waiting for the opportune moment to strike, what will we do? Let me talk today a bit about what we call a retail peace process, because sometimes we will say these things, in the midst of a lot of conversation, and they will go unnoticed. You will know that the preference of La République du Cameroon regarding the situation in the southern Cameroons, of course, that's the preference of La République du Cameroon with France and Britain and even a lot of their allies on the international scene. They have tried to do that since 2019 to enforce something called a retail peace process, which means that what? Which means they take each group because they convince themselves that we are so seriously divided to the point where we can't even sit and look at each other eyeball to eyeball. We can't talk to ourselves. These things they have told us in several ways. That's why you hear they will say in international circles, or they are asking them to come and talk peace with us, or they want them to come for a peace process with us. Who will they talk to? Each time they have tried, We have proven to them beyond reasonable doubt that when it comes to talking about the core interest of Ambazonian, we are ready at very short notice to set our differences aside and come together. First, they sent women from one group they called, I'm forgetting the name of that group. I think that group was led by Madame Jomo Omam Esther from Boya. They came to Maryland. That was in 2019. And when they came to Maryland, they sought to meet us. There were 5 women in number, and they thought that they were going to meet each leader or each group separately. But when they got here, we told them, you meet all of us at once. They were embarrassed, these women, to find us talking in total camaraderie with one another. At that meeting, we were Comrade Elvis Cometa, we were Comrade Bo Herbert, there was Comrade Ebenezer Akwanga, there was myself, there was a representative from the AGOFC. In fact, we were all there at the time. We were all there. And these women were surprised and they said, but we are told you can't even meet eyeball to eyeball. And then also came Eli Smith, that he was sent by the late venerated Christian Cardinal Toomey to come prospect if we would like to participate in a so-called all Anglophone conference that they were going to organize in Boya. When Mr. Eli Smith got here, he noticed that again, everyone was together, with the exception of a separate meeting he held with Comrade Sako Samuel Ikome at his home. He eventually met everyone and we spoke the same language by saying we thought it was not opportune, that meeting was not opportune, and we even knew that La République du Cameroon will never ever close their eyes to let it happen. And of course, we all know how that whole thing and how that whole project ended. Again, they tried a couple of times. They used even international organizations to try and place a wedge among us. It's always been difficult. We may look very, very divided. We may seem so much apart. But trust me, my dear people of Ambazonia, the ingredient that will put us together, that will make us really functioning so much together, will be the people of Ambazonia deciding not to operate with us in a fractious manner. Because anytime there's been need to rise to the occasion, especially in the diaspora, the leadership of our liberation movement has proven beyond reasonable doubt that we can easily sink our differences, we can easily forget about our petty grievances against each other and sit together on the same table to talk the interest of Ambazonia. Another test was a recent trip to the United States of America by Archbishop Andrew Nkia of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Diocese of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province, and the outgoing moderator of the Presbyterian Church. They all got to the United States of America accompanied by some of their priests and pastors. And they still thought that they were going to meet one after the other. We were all assembled, we all settled, and we were able to tell them to their faces that we expect them to be talking more to the government of La République du Cameroon to come to the negotiation table and not us, because we have demonstrated all the time that we are willing, ready, and determined to have this discussion around a round table where we sit, look each other eyeball to eyeball, and talk about the root causes of the ongoing conflict, the ongoing genocidal conflict between La République du Cameroon and the people of the southern Cameroons. Again, they were surprised to find all of us seated there. We're all there, Comrade Chris Anu, I think Comrade Elvis Cometa, in fact, a lot of us, a cross section of people, and there were also representatives of IG Care, the SCNC, AGOFC. We were all there. And they were surprised again, and they said, but they always tell us that you are apart. And we told them, because they talked about a so-called Capo Dane conference in Canada, and we told them in clear terms we were not going to participate in any kind of nonsense that does not bring La République du Cameroon to the core on the table. When I talk about retail peace process, it's because they keep thinking that like it has happened in other places. They can take the egg of say, come sit in one corner. Let's talk. What are your terms? What do you want? They finish with egg of say and say, we are finished with you. Okay, now you are done. We are finished with the peace process with you. You are one with us. Shift. They come and call, say the consortium. What do you want? They talk with you, they finish with you, they say shift, everything is over. Now they call, say, IG Care, they call the SCNC, they call the APLM, they call this, they call that, they call up, they call down. They call IG Sako, they call IG Marianta, they call, look folks, we have demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that that would not happen. And La République du Cameroon depends so much on that kind of retail peace agreement because they tell themselves that fundamentally if they proceed in that manner, it's going to be easier for them to continue to keep us in slavery and servitude forever. You know, the summit of it all was Canada. That's when La République du Cameroon unbared itself before the international community. And they too now know exactly who La République du Cameroon is. They now know that La République du Cameroon is a rogue country. They now know that La République du Cameroon does not want to talk peace. Because when Canada came up, La République du Cameroon was so convinced that they were going to get to Canada, and because we don't agree with one another, they had already scheduled separate meetings with separate groups, movements, and organizations for separate days. And then at the end of which they were going to have a plenary where they will harmonize what they have agreed with each group. We knew about that. At that time, the CDN weighed in and we had a serious and very important planning meeting in London. And at that planning meeting in London, we converged our minds and we said, both the groups, movements, and organizations that were invited and those that were not invited, we had agreed to send a team, one team, Team Ambazonian, under the coordination of the venerated Professor Carlson Anyangwe. And so La République du Cameroon was embarrassed. Even the international actors present, the Canadian government and the representative from the United Nations and the people from the HD who were present in Canada, they were embarrassed to realize that while they thought that they were going to be having meetings with each group, our delegations arrived and they told them, we will be talking as Ambazonian. On the one hand, you have the Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia, and on the other hand, La République du Cameroon. This is not something they had foreseen. They were overwhelmed, they were confused, but they had no choice but to make do with it. And of course, the outcome was to embarrass them so seriously because we concerted at every given point to come to consensus on whatever we agreed. And the final document that was prepared, we worked on it day and night, both those who were physically in Canada and those of us who were virtually in Canada. We worked through those documents through the arbitration of the Canadian government and mediated between us and the La République du Cameroon side, and we finally came out with a framework document that had to be published, which provided, of course, for a temporary ceasefire at one point and for us to continue with confidence building measures. That document, the content of that document, the final document, is what frightened the government of La République du Cameroon to quickly run out of those pre-talks and claim that nothing ever happened in Canada. Because on that document, it was made clear, other than what they had proposed, that it should have been that the Prime Minister's Office of La République du Cameroon, with some organizations, namely the AGOFC, the APLM, I think it was the APLM, SCNC, and others. No, it did not come to pass. I don't know whether it was even SCNC. There were four organizations. So they realized, because, okay, there was the IG Marienta. So they realized that we will not accept that format. It took us days to discuss on the wordings of that document until we finally able to narrow down to the appellation that these pre-talks were held between, on the one side, the government of the Republic of Cameroon, represented by the Prime Minister's office, and on the other side, the Southern Cameroons, represented by, and the names of the organizations that were present put in there. For La République du Cameroon, this was disaster, because it meant very clearly that the international dimension were always vied to give to this liberation struggle had completely taken shape. And it became clear to them that we were now way back to what had been in 1961, La République du Cameroun and the Southern Cameroons, which we are now renaming Ambazonian. It is at this point the document was signed, appended to by both sides. And when this document reached Yaounde, the war hawks in Yaounde, especially at the Ministry of Communication, the Secretary General of the Presidency, they said, this is the end of it. By agreeing to this, if we proceed with this, the Southern Cameroon people have collected or have taken back their independence. So if we try this, we are finished. Because they knew that proceeding will mean we will have to sit therefore and talk international law. Mention of international law will simply mean that La République du Cameroun is out of the game, because they have no legal claim to the territory of the Southern Cameroons. My people of Ambazonia, I'm having this conversation with us here today because it is essential for us to bear in mind that this liberation movement has made a lot of progress. We have made so much progress. We are not lagging behind. Even when you seem to think that things are dead, there is so much work that is ongoing, some publicly and some in closed doors around the world. What I want to point out here is go back to a message I followed by Comrade Ebenezer Akwanga a few days ago. He was calling on the people to understand the need to rise back to the occasion and support this liberation movement. Look, folks, we will never yield to a retail peace arrangement with La République du Cameroun. Now on to the real crux of the matter. You all know that La République du Cameroun, having tried this in the diaspora ceaselessly and failed, they decided to work with some actors where they will meet some actors. They bring back your words to you. If you have been reckless in your communications regarding these liberation movements, they bring back your words to you. That's what they did to Capo Daniel. And tell you, do you know that you're a prisoner? Even if this thing ends, you will go to jail for crimes against humanity or for whatever crimes. But if you repent now and turn against what you have been fighting for, you could be redeemed. And those who are chicken-hearted fall to these antics. Let me be clear. If you have committed crimes or incited crimes against humanity to be committed, turning against the liberation movement, even at this point, will never ever vindicate you. When the time comes and there's a war crimes tribunal on the situation in the Southern Cameroons, you will not be spared. So what you are doing, you are simply getting to what is called double jeopardy. So folks, why am I saying this? Because I want us to pay attention to what is happening on the ground. Consistently, La République du Cameroon has been trying as much as they can to also import this approach of retail peace process to our self-defense volunteers on the ground. To them, let's go to Momo. If we are able to use all means possible, kill those who can kill, convince those we can convince, and turn everyone against this whole thing, we finish with Momo, we move to Mezam. We finish with Mezam, we move to Lady Alem. The same retail approach. But I said here a while ago, La République du Cameroon is in a powder magazine. The day is packed over there. Are we ready to rise up to the occasion? This is where it is important now for us to continue. Those who have access to our self-defense volunteers on the ground, those who are their handlers, to make them begin to communicate among themselves across the board, because they must also be ready to rise to the occasion when the time comes, set aside their differences and face the enemy like one, as we have also proven in the diaspora, despite our being divided. Because when the time comes, often we recognize that there is more that unites us than that divides us. This is something we must bear in mind. This is something we have to really work on, and this is something we have to think about. We have faced a lot of challenges in this liberation movement. We have lost valiant self-defense volunteers, just like La République du Cameroon has lost a lot of their so-called valiant and professional soldiers in Ambazonian. Yet, they are not giving up. Yet, they continue to be motivated. That is the more reason we, who are the owners of the land, have to do everything within our power to stay motivated, to stay committed, to stay determined, and to stay focused on sending La République du Cameroon out of our land. The opportunity is close. It is not far. This is why we have to continue in whatever way we can to support this liberation movement. I heard Comrade Akwanga say something I've said before, that people have come here, benefited from the liberation movement, to get their asylum, to get resources, to get help here and there. And today, some of them, you want to talk about it, say, hey, I don't want to hear about that, you're Ambazonian. Let me be very frank here. This fight we are fighting is a fight for the soul of our country. It's a fight for the people of Ambazonian as a whole. It's a people's collective fight for freedom. It is not some one person's plantation. It's not some one group's plantation. That's why we must be committed. We have faced storms, but I say always that not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear your path. The storms we have faced this far should inform us, should strengthen us, should make us more determined to forge ahead, because these storms have helped to reveal those in our midst who were never with us, who have always been there for the purpose of eventually using this liberation movement for their personal gains. A good lot of them have been revealed. In fact, to put it very lightly, boys have been separated from men. Girls have been separated from women. And today, those who are still raging and are still fighting, they deserve all the support in the world that we can accord them. This is why I will continue to urge us by day and by night to stay committed to this liberation movement. If you had backtracked, it is time to come back home, because we must finish what we started. We must finish what we started. This thing must be completed in this generation. We shall not, I insist, we shall not send it forward to the next generation. If you are still watching, I'm delighted that you stayed with me right up to this point. Subscribe, share the link, and make sure to always tune in, because we have to together fight as hard as we can to kick La République du Cameroon out of our land. And for those of you in the southern Cameroons who are preparing to answer to a stupid call from some local, misguided, selfish, demagogic CPDM so-called elite that you should go out somewhere to celebrate Mr. Paul Biya's accession to power this Wednesday, November 6th. Don't risk your life. I keep saying this because, like I say, when you get warnings coming left and right, don't go out there. I've heard a lot of audios saying terrible things, profaning threats. My job has always been to ensure the safety of the civilian population through education, through sensitization, and through sharing the good word. Folks, don't risk your life. It is not worth it. That bread and sardine and the 2,000, 5,000 you are going after is not worth your life. Look at what has happened to people who were headstrong like you and went out before. Has it helped? It hasn't. You need to be alive to enjoy, see, and feel, touch the free and independent and prosperous Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonian. Don't fall to those antics. Don't go out there to put your life at risk. I will definitely be back here for us to continue our advocacy for freedom. I want to thank all of you who set aside time to be on this set to share with me in this conversation. To God be the glory.